The morning Muhammad Ali walked into Amara Kouyaté's training ground, nobody in Kinshasa thought it was a story worth remembering. It was September 8, 1974. 6 weeks before the most important boxing match in a decade. Ali had woken at 4 in the morning, as he always did in Zaire, lacing up his shoes in the dark of his villa in Nsele, slipping past the security detail and running alone through the sleeping city. He had been doing this every morning since arriving, not the managed camera-ready jogs that Don King liked to stage for the photographers. Real running, solitary, the kind where a man can hear his own thoughts without anyone explaining them back to him. Kinshasa at 4 in the morning was a different world. The humidity pressed against the skin like a warm hand. The roads were mostly empty, lit by the occasional lantern or the pale glow of a television through a window screen. Women carried water on their heads with the unhurried confidence of people who had never once considered dropping them. Ali ran south from Nsele toward the lower districts, the part of the city that the hotel brochures did not mention, and that his handlers had suggested he avoid. He ran there every morning for exactly that reason, because nobody told him not to. He heard the drums before he saw the compound, not drums in the tourist sense. These were working drums, functional, the kind that set rhythm for bodies in motion. Coming from behind a low stone wall on a side street that opened off the main road, a street with no name on any map Ali had been given. He stopped running. He stood on the pavement and listened for a long moment. Then he walked toward the sound. The compound was maybe 40 feet square. Hard-packed earth floor, swept clean that morning, still damp at the edges. Around the perimeter, a dozen young men and women sat watching two figures in the center who moved in ways that Ali had never seen before. Low, impossibly low. Bodies almost parallel to the ground, weight distributed between hands and feet, legs sweeping in wide arcs that seemed to come from nowhere and arrive everywhere. No punches, no strikes in the conventional sense. Just these continuous flowing movements that looked from a distance like dance and looked up close like something entirely different. Amara Kouyaté was the one who saw him first. She was 36 years old. She had been practicing Lutte Traditionnelle since she was 7, trained by her father, who had been trained by his father, in a lineage that stretched back far enough in Congolese history that the family had stopped trying to trace its beginning. At 36, she was the finest wrestler in 3 provinces. In 14 years of direct competition, in 41 challenges from men and women who had traveled sometimes hundreds of miles to test themselves against her, she had not lost once. Not close, not once. She was 5 feet 6 of functional muscle and absolute economy of movement. When she stopped her demonstration and looked at the stranger standing at the gate, her expression did not change. She had seen men come to watch before. Men always came with the same expression, the expression of someone confident they are seeing something they do not need to take seriously. The young man closest to the gate, Thierry, 19 years old, 3 years into his training, stood up and approached. "Training is closed to visitors," he said. The stranger looked at him, then past him at the 2 figures still moving in the center. "What is this?" he asked in English that carried an accent Thierry had heard on American radio broadcasts. Someone at the back of the group recognized the face before the name arrived in their minds. The recognition moved through the compound in a wave of whispered syllables. Ali, Muhammad Ali. The one fighting Foreman next month, the one Foreman was going to destroy. Everyone in Kinshasa had an opinion about the fight, and almost every opinion held that the American was too old, too slow, that his legs had gone, that Foreman would end the whole conversation in 3 rounds. Thierry delivered this assessment now, not unkindly, with the confidence of someone stating a fact that everyone in the room already knows. "You should rest," he said. "You have a big fight coming. You shouldn't tire yourself walking around the city at dawn." A small laugh moved through the group. Ali looked at Thierry with an expression that was not offended and not amused. It was patient. The expression of a man who has been underestimated so many times that it no longer produces any emotion worth naming. "I run 4 miles every morning," Ali said quietly. "I'm not tired." Amara had crossed the compound without anyone noticing and was standing 3 feet behind Thierry. "You want to watch?" she said. It was not a question. I want to understand, Ali said. She studied him for a moment. Not his face, his feet, the way his weight sat on the ground, distributed with a naturalness that most people never think about because they have never had to. She saw something in those feet. She did not say what she saw. You can stay, she said, but don't speak while we work. Ali nodded. He stepped inside the gate, removed his shoes, and moved to the edge of the compound. For the next hour, he stood without moving, watching everything, with an attention so complete that several students found themselves glancing at him during breaks, distracted by the quality of his stillness. He was watching the way a man watches something he is trying to understand from the inside, not the outside. After an hour, Amara stopped the session and sat on a low wooden bench. She looked at Ali across the distance between them. You see anything useful? She asked. I see everything, he said. I don't understand all of it yet. Thierry had been waiting. You box standing up, he said. Everything up here. He raised his hands to his chin. What she does happens down there. He gestured toward the ground. Different world. A boxer in this compound, she puts him down in 30 seconds. Ali looked at Thierry. He looked at the ground between them. He looked at Amara. Show me, he said. What Amara Kouyaté would say later, in an interview given 10 years after that morning, was that she had expected what she always encountered when someone from outside Lutte Traditionnelle entered her compound. She expected a person who moved according to the logic of their own system, which meant a person she could read, anticipate, and redirect before they understood what was happening. What she did not expect was a person with no system. She began with the standard entry sequence, the low sweep that travels at ankle height in a wide arc that most upright fighters never see because their eyes are trained to watch hands, not ground. It had worked 41 times in 14 years. It worked because the human brain, trained by experience, does not watch the floor. Ali moved, not away, sideways one step at the exact moment and to the exact distance required, as if he had known where the sweep would arrive before it arrived. She recovered. She came again, lower, with the follow-through transition that no one had ever successfully read in real time, because the second movement was concealed inside the first. His body curved, the torso going back at an angle that seemed impossible for a man his size, and her leg passed through empty space where his weight had been half a second before. She stood up slowly. The compound was completely silent. The drums had stopped. Thierry had not moved. Amara looked at him with the objectivity of someone performing an analysis, not expressing an emotion. You have no form, she said. I have all the forms, he said. That's why I don't need any one of them. She sat on the ground. He sat across from her. Neither of them suggested it. It simply happened. The way conversations happen when two people have recognized something in each other that doesn't require negotiation. How do you read the movement before it arrives? She asked. I don't read the movement, he said. I read the decision. The body decides before it moves. You can see the decision if you stop looking at the movement. Amara was quiet for a long time. My father called it hearing the thought, she said finally. Same thing, he said. The old trainer who sat at the edge of the compound and had not spoken since Ali arrived made a sound that was not quite a word. Both of them looked at him. He shook his head slowly, not in disagreement, in recognition. The ground, the old man said in French. He already knows the ground. Ali pressed his palm flat against the packed earth for a moment. I'm going to fight a man next month who is bigger than me, he said. Stronger than me. He hits harder than anyone I've ever faced. Everyone says I should stay away from him. Move. Use the ring. Don't let him pin me to the ropes. He looked at Amara. But I think the answer is the opposite, he said. I think the answer is to let him come. Give him the ropes. Let him spend himself against me. Not fight the ground, but use it. Amara was quiet for a long moment. In Lutte Traditionnelle, she said, the wrestler who tries to stay upright at all costs is always the one who falls. The one who knows the ground is never afraid of it, because the ground is where the power lives. Ali nodded. Something moved behind his eyes that was not quite a smile. I float like a butterfly, he said, but a butterfly doesn't live in the air. It always comes back to something real. He left an hour later. He ran back the way he had come, through the city that was now fully awake, past the vendors and the children in the slow morning traffic. back toward the villa in Incel, where Angelo Dundee was waiting with coffee and questions about where he had been. Ali didn't tell anyone about the compound. Not that morning. Not before the fight. On October 30th, 1974, in the Stade du 20 Mai in Kinshasa, in front of 60,000 people, Muhammad Ali walked to the center of the ring and did what no one who understood boxing thought was possible. He leaned into the ropes and let George Foreman hit him. Round after round, he gave Foreman the angles. He gave him everything, and he took it, and he did not fall, because a man who is not afraid of the ground cannot be put on it against his will. In the 8th round, Foreman was spent. His arms hung. His breath came in pulls that the microphones at ringside could pick up clearly. He had thrown everything he had against a man who had simply been there to receive it, patient and unbroken, waiting. Ali came off the ropes. What followed lasted 11 seconds and changed everything. Amara Kouyaté watched the fight on a small television in the compound with her students crowded around her. When it was over, when the referee's count was complete and 60,000 people rose in Kinshasa, she sat quietly for a long time. Thierry, standing beside her, asked what she was thinking. She pressed her palm flat against the earth, the same gesture Ali had made 6 weeks before in this compound. He remembered, she said. Years later, when people asked Ali how he had decided on the rope-a-dope, he gave different answers at different times. He mentioned Dundee. He mentioned reading Foreman's patterns in sparring. He mentioned instinct. Once in a conversation that was not recorded, he said something different. He said a woman in Kinshasa had taught him that the ground is not the enemy of a fighter. The ground is the foundation that the enemy wears himself out trying to reach. The greatest don't just fight their opponents. They find the ground their opponents cannot take from them, and then they wait. What round are you standing in right now? And what ground is still yours if you stop running from it? Leave your answer below. Someone reading it tonight might need it more than you know.